Red lights go on, they go out, the race gets underway, but not very well for 43 Paul Rogers. They all dodge around him, and even worse for number 28 Charlie Sladden in the Metal. But finally all of the cars do get away, and they get away unscathed, because it's always a scary moment when those cars slow away from a grid of fast starting cars such as these Sports 1000 and Cup 200 cars. Early on today it was a win for Ryan Yarrow from Clint Newman and Dan Clues. Here it's Ryan Yarrow that's stolen the march at the beginning of the race, because it wasn't a particularly quick getaway from Clint Newman from pole position. So as they head down, and there was a car, looked like they might have gone off into the gravel trap there. Marshals are mustering, can't see the car because it's behind the barriers there, but it looks like someone has gone off down there at Cascades. We'll try and pick up on that in a minute, but leader, yeah, it's Ryan Yarrow leading, Dan Clues second, Clint Newman from pole position third, Carl Austin fourth, and Dave Watson, a thing that is, in fifth position overall, so he dodged around some of those cars as the safety car is being scrambled and got up to fifth position. But yeah, an early safety car period with that car, or cars, possibly, we don't know, in the gravel trap at Cascades.
I think that was inevitable, sadly, because the Cascades gravel does a very good job, generally speaking, of arresting the speed, very high speed of a car leaving the track there, but then it leaves it vulnerable for lap 2 because somebody who's found their way to the gravel, that situation could be repeated with any number of these cars, of course. So much safer, especially this early on in the race, to get that car recovered from the Cascades gravel. Hopefully it's not too far embedded and it can be a relatively quick recovery over the next 2 or 3 laps. But Ryan Yarrow then having to rethink perhaps. Well, he's got the crucial thing is that he got the jump on Clint Newman. Yeah. He didn't allow cars behind him on the second row through. In fact, it possibly did a favour for Dan Clues, because it parted the waves, parted the seas for him to go through as well. Clues, you say up to second position?
Yes, I think so, yeah, ahead of Newman.
Again, it's the outside line, a bit like Brands Hatch, I suppose, because at the start of the day there were a lot of leaves actually on the right-hand side of the line, which is generally considered the better line because it delivers you into the apex at Old Hall, but seemingly not in this race.
Right. We've got this hiatus, the second safety car of the day that we've had in the Sports 1000. We had one earlier on as well, but it allows us to have a look at the point situation heading into this race. And just saying now, we've got it was Ian Hutchinson, number 69, the car that hasn't come through at the end of that lap. So Ian Hutchinson, his Spy, the driver from Doncaster, is the driver that didn't come through. So he's the one in the gravel trap, unfortunately, at Cascades. Point situation coming into this race, though. I'll give the situation after dropped scores. 246 for Ryan Yarrow, 222 for Clint Newman, 214 for Dan Clues, and 194 for Paul Rogers, and 185 for Carl Austin. So that's how things are looking in there. In the Cup 200, Mike Whiteman Hayward 125, John Cutmore 110, Dave Watson 102. So I think it's likely that the championship is going to go down to the wire. I'll perhaps just do a little bit of jiggery-pokery with my Excel in a moment, just to confirm if there's a way that it could be wrapped up in favour of Ryan Yarrow today. So I shall do that in just a moment as the cars, Johnny, continue their way around behind the safety car.
Yeah, well, Ryan will be chuffed to bits that he's managed to get into this position where potentially that scenario could play out. He was very happy earlier on in the day to have scored a decent victory as well, and what will have pleased him earlier on, that was this morning before the lunch break, that actually the cars behind him were embroiled in their own fight, so not necessarily focused on working together to reel in Ryan's car, the 54, the Spire GT3. Remember, there are sports car Cup 200 in this as well, the MK Sports cars, and the highest place of those to complete the first lap is actually David Watson, who's as high up now as 5th position. So that's great going so far, and ahead of the earlier race winner, which was Whiteman Hayward won earlier on, didn't he? Yes. No, John Cutmore was ahead for a bit of the time. Then Cutmore developed problems, and that gave the class lead back again to the treble one car.
Just looking at the way the points work, if it stays something like what it is now, the championship will go down to the final meeting at Donington in 3 weeks' time.
At which there are 2 further races.
2 further races there. If both Newman and Clues have some fairly serious problems between now and the end of the race, it's possible that Ryan Yarrow could wrap it up today. But
okay.
we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. But at the moment, even if he wins, providing Clues and Newman are somewhere reasonably close behind him, one or both of them is, then the championship will go down to Donington Park.
We will be racing again at the end of this lap because the safety car lights were off coming through Druids. It has set off for the horizon, and now the pace is being dictated by Ryan Yarrow, who will possibly be heading quite slowly. No, he's not. Coming out of Druids, he's already gone for this restart, and Dan Clues was alert to that. Likewise, Clint Newman as well. Possibly caught a touch napping Carl Austin. So there's a larger gap, 3rd to 4th, but the leading trio are right together and almost thinking about a move down the inside was Dan Clues there. The concrete wall of the pit wall, though, was looming large to his right. So he stays, well, outside-inside trick maybe. The next corner is kind of a right-hander, but they have to get set up for Cascades. Can Clues get through? The answer is no. Still Yarrow in the race lead.
Certainly is, but that was a good restart for Dan Clues, wasn't it? I mean, Yarrow went early, but Clues really took the fight to him. He's just had the one win so far this year, has Dan Clues. That came in the previous round of the championship, actually, at Snetterton back in July, where we had 3 different race winners, and we've had 6 different winners out of now 11 races so far this season. So it has been a very wide open championship this year. With lots of different drivers capable of taking race wins, including both of the 2 drivers immediately behind Ryan Yarrow here. Dan Clues and Clint Newman have both won races. Clint's race win also came at Snetterton last time out as well. Carl Austin is the only other car in sight of Sports 1000s in 4th, and a gap back to Dave Watson in 5th, who has got some of the Spires coming up behind him, and they nearly get into one another. Daniel Ashby and Johnny McGill were barreling down the inside, but actually through that part of the circuit, the Cup 200 cars are pretty nimble through there, and they were unable to outbrake the Cup 200 car of Dave Watson. Here is Watson now. This MK Indy with the Suzuki Hayabusa engine in it, 1.3 litres. There's Paul Rogers in the number 43 car. He's trying to make a move past one of the Cup 200 cars. That's Mike Whiteman Hayward he's getting past. And just in the background as well, you've got John Cutmore. You've got the Spires side by side there. It's McGill getting ahead of Ashby for track position. And as they come through to complete lap number 3 of the race now, with 11 3/4 minutes of the race to go. It's Yarrow leading by 0.6 of a second from Dan Clues, and a similar gap back to Clint Newman 3rd.
Yeah, things just starting to space out a little bit away from those top 2. McGill to the inside line of the Cup 200 race leader, who, as I've mentioned, is David Watson. So Watson under a bit of pressure now, heading down Lakeside. Ryan Yarrow's car just moving around spectacularly on the road. A little bit of porpoising because he caught the right-hand curb on the exit of Shell Oils. Likewise, the front left rides right over the red and white paving there, but doesn't unsettle the car too much. So coming back into sight, it's Ryan Yarrow leading just from Dan Clues, who's now under pressure again from Clint Newman, and that gap is definitely established itself back to 4th position. Johnny McGill having much cleaner race compared to earlier on, because he dropped well back into the high teens before coming back again to finish, I think, 6th or 7th. He's back in 6th again in this race, and there's scope to gain another place on David Watson in the near future.
Out of Druids come those first 3 then, and there's a real race on here between the 3 of them at the front. 42 Clint Newman bring up the rear. The man from Bath, he's a postman in only his 2nd season of racing at all, and in Sports 1000 in particular. Yarrow with a bit more experience, about 7 years of experience behind him already, 3 championship titles under his belt. A bit further back, Charlie Sladden, after his effectively not failing to get off the line. He's making up places. He's got past John Cutmore now, so I think that's going to be for 11th position. But no, in fact, it's for 10th place because Mike Whiteman-Hayward has dropped behind Cutmore on that lap and to 3rd within the Cup 200 division. Dan Clues has done the best lap of the race, a 1:45.501. In the early race, the best lap was a 1:44.025 for Clint Newman, and that equates to more than 93 miles an hour, which is really quite something around the twists and turns and undulations of this Oulton Park circuit.
Just got a brief glimpse there of Paul Rogers, who's now got ahead of David Watson. So Watson retains his Cup 200 lead. But Paul Rogers, who we surmise maybe might have had a spin in the earlier race, and that heavily delayed him on one lap in isolation, but then the speed of the car looked good after that. It looks good in this second race of the day as well. Squeal of tyres, but everyone's still pointing in the right direction, exiting Knickerbrook, and Yarrow's making a break now. This is a much bigger gap than he had at the start of this lap over Dan Clues. So half a second, might be nearer 8 or 9 tenths by the end of this. So some breathing space finally for the race leader.
Yeah, it looks like it, but Clues and Newman, they're not too far behind. There's still 8.5 minutes of the race left. They'll get at least 5 more laps out of that. And so more opportunities to come. But yes, it is now 8/10 of a second between Yarrow and Clues. That time through, Yarrow's about a quarter of a second faster than Clues. Then Newman 3rd. Carl Austin going well in 4th position, but rather lonely now. He's sort of 8 seconds behind Newman and is 6 seconds or so ahead of Johnny McGill, who's got Rogers and Chapman for pretty close company. There they are now, McGill, Rogers and Chapman right together. Rogers getting ahead of Chapman on that last lap, and they're going to have Charlie Slazen gaining on them, I think, before much longer, because he's just in a personal best lap of the race as he continues to slice back through the field in that Mattel, the ex-Danny Andrew car, which is sort of adapted to much better than he did with the Sabre that he was racing last year, a more mainstream car, if you like. One of just a couple of the Mattels on the grid, the other being the Works Mattel Cars Run entry for Dan Clues, which is in 2nd position at the moment. But here's that battle for 5th place then. Johnny McGill, number 72, Paul Rogers, number 43. You'd probably expect Rogers, who's been a champion in the past when he drove the Contour about more than a decade ago, probably expect him to be a little bit quicker than Johnny McGill, and is he about to make the move down into his laps? It looked like he is.
Yeah, just made his intentions felt quite early on there, made sure that McGill had seen him coming in the mirrors, and McGill wasn't going to make that any tougher than was necessary. Clearly in this phase, Paul Rogers' car just that bit quicker, so you're going to spend the rest of the race driving in your mirrors. Much better to allow him by and perhaps see if you can tag on to the coattails of Paul's car. I'm intrigued by this fight between David Watson and John Cutmore, because last time around Cutmore was a full second faster than the Cup 200 leader. That is a dice for the category lead, and is very much up for grabs between Watson and Cutmore. Will they have changed positions at the end of this lap? Over the line will go Johnny McGill. Wait a few more seconds to see the Cup 200s arrive yeah, they're right together, look, as they head through Deer Leap and over the start-finish line. And Cutmore still in behind, but he went for a move there into Old Hall Corner. Oh, lots of steering from the rear there from Watson's car, but it was neatly mopped up.
But does it give Cutmore an opportunity to launch an attack down into Cascade? No, it doesn't. They've got just behind them Daniel Ashby in his Spire, but then Mike Whiteman-Hayward in his red Cup 200 car, the MK chassis. And the bodywork on the MK chassis just behind. So the first three not too far away, and there is a change there. John Cutmore Island gets through. There is quite a lot of overtaking that does happen at Island, which is quite a quick left-hander, and drivers do say there's a dearth of opportunities here, but Ireland does seem to be one place where you do get quite a few moves made, but you've got to be fairly brave, I would think, to make the move there.
First of all, a tow is useful down Lakeside itself, and then you have to be fully committed, yes. I suppose that The danger is if you shuffle to the outside line, you kind of have to either get out of the throttle or on the brakes early for fear of running out of road on the exit. So you're bullying your opponent out of the equation, and that's maybe precisely what John Cutmore did. So it's a tidy little manoeuvre, but he's not going to be able to shake David Watson here. Watson's got a quick car, and Cutmore's very wide coming out of Knickerbrook. Almost dropped a tyre over the curbing. They're almost side by side. They are side by side, heading back up the hill.
Yeah, great battle this one. It's Cutmore, and then it is Watson, and they're overlapping almost through Druid. Double apex right-hander. So back in behind, then it's Ashby, and then it's Hayward and Mark Goodwin as well, who we've also seen out in the all-comers races today. Looks like he's going to get a move made on... No, he's not actually going to make the move on Whiteman Hayward there, the 111 car. But you've got these 5 cars. They're separated by just over a second, all 5 of them, and it's a great battle between them, and they're pretty evenly matched, although in different ways around the lap, the Cup 200 cars and the regular Sports 1000 cars. Looks like Goodwin might make the move stick there. Does he? Yes, he does, and he gets ahead of Whiteman Hayward, and therefore takes more points away from him in this battle with Cutmore and Watson for the Cup 200 title.
Because regardless of what category you're in, you're scoring points according to overall position.
Correct.
Rather than the individual classes, which we remarked on earlier on being an interesting way of doing the championship. Gives you more impetus to push on regardless of who you're racing, I suppose. Ryan Yarrow is still 2.2 seconds to the good over Clint Newman and Dan Clues. So is that a relative recent change for Newman to be ahead of Clues? It's, I mean, they crossed the line only 0.3 of a second apart. So Newman has, there it is in reality. It's a lot more than 0.3 of a second, I would argue, at the end of the very next lap. So this is potentially Clint Newman with the new fastest lap of the race, making a go to Ryan Yarrow to see how close he can get to the race leader.
Yeah, so 1:44 second now, best lap for Clint Newman in second place, and that was the best lap of the... No, it's not the best lap of the day, it was 1:44.0 for Newman in the early race. 2 minutes 50 to go in this race. Still this fight for the midfield positions, but also the Cup 200 lead goes on. And it's Cutmore and Watson. Oh, and that's one of the cars that has gone off there.
Hayward?
Yellow flags. Is it, or is that in the wrong position around the lap? It is a red car, though. Caution board coming out as well.
Just trying to work out precisely where it is.
Yeah, it's on the exit of Old Hall Corner, isn't it?
It's on the exit, so it's facing the wrong...
No,
it's facing the right way, yes,
yeah.
but we're looking at it from behind, okay.
Yeah.
So Whiteman Hayward crossed the line.
Yeah, he did. Anyway, we've got... What have we got? 2 minutes 11 seconds to go now. Should I pick up where the leads are? There they are, just going through shot. And Clint Newman has narrowed the gap to Ryan Yarrow. We should try and pick up on that as well, because that was 1.3 seconds at the start of the lap, and it's not 1.3 seconds now. That battle among the Cup 200 cars is just heading down to Shallows Corner. But here are the two leaders now. There's that battle we're talking about. It's not Whiteman Hayward, he's still there. So it is, I think, was it John Murphy then?
I think it has
possibly,
to be, yeah. Everybody else has crossed the line.
Here's the battle for the lead though, Johnny, with a lap to go at the end of this one.
Yeah, so pressure's on now, with Yarrow having to look out for a different car than in recent times. Clint Newman, although carrying a time penalty now as well, so...
Oh dear.
That's a black and white, well no, for car 28, but there's definitely a penalty for Newman, which I can only assume is 5 seconds, and well, there's nothing less than 5 seconds, is there? So it's immediately going to take him out of the scenario, and it will probably take him out of second position as well, with Dan Clues 3 seconds behind in the number 2 car. So that's going to change the dynamic entirely.
As Paul Rogers comes up the inside of Carl Austin here, so he's done well here to take the time out of Carl Austin, because he was 6 or 7 seconds ahead of that battle earlier on, and very nearly Paul Rogers in the spy got ahead of the man from Devon, the man from Norfolk, Paul Rogers. Just up the road from Stetton, couldn't quite make it work there, but that is the battle on screen now for 4th position.
Nothing between them as they disappear along Lakeside and now reappear at Island Bend. No opportunity to get through there though, despite the number of overtakes that have been pulled off in that area. Less than half a minute for Ryan Yarrow. We'll have a bit more than that, of course, because it'll take him longer than that to get to the start and finish line more importantly, from Knickerbrook, and he has managed to drop Clint Newman now. So Clint, a couple of laps ago, the fastest car on track. Has he been informed that he's carrying a time penalty? Well, that would surely actually give him the purpose to increase the speed to make sure he finishes second and ahead of Dan Clues.
And he might still do it. Let's wait and see. They're coming up into the final corner now at Lodge. Oh, and Yarrow's a bit out of shape there. Doesn't really need to be, pressing himself too hard there, but he's going to bring it home to take his 5th victory of the season in the Nankang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship. Second on the road, Clint Newman, but he drops to 3rd, 1.5 seconds behind Dan Clues after that penalty has been applied. Fight for 4th still going on. Paul Rogers to the outside of Carl Austin going into Lodge corner. Is he going to get the cut back now and get the move done on the exit? He might do, they're absolutely side by side as they come out of the corner, up to the line. They're side by side over it, and there's 4 thousandths of a second between them, and it's Carl Austin just that holds on from Paul Rogers. So 44 from 43. Charlie Slazen, good comeback from him to take 6th place in car number 28, 7th to number 72 Johnny McGill, and 8th to number 63 Colin Chapman. And we're still waiting for that Cup 200 battle to come through. Well, here it is. Here's John Cutmore at the front of it. He's got Daniel Ashby between himself and Dave Watson now. So it's going to be Cutmore that comes through to take the Cup 200 win. There he is, with 2nd going to Watson and 3rd to Mike Whiteman Hayward. So a very entertaining conclusion to that race for all kinds of reasons. Ryan Yarrow it is that is classified as the winner by 4.5 seconds from Dan Clues. The championship will go to the final round of the championship at Donington Park, the final meeting of the championship at Donington Park. Here are the results then. Number 54, Ryan Yarrow, the winner after 10 laps of racing. He finished ahead of number 2, Dan Clues, by 4.524 seconds. Once the penalty was applied to number 42, Clint Newman, who therefore finished 3rd, 6 seconds behind the winner. 4th to number 44, Carl Austin, by 4 thousandths of a second from 43, Paul Rogers. 6th to number 28, Charlie Sladen. 7th to 72, Johnny McGill. 8th was 63, Colin Chapman. 9th, Mark Goodwin in number 20. Ahead of John Cutmore, number 98, who won Cup 200. Daniel Ashby was 11th, then David Watson, Mike Whiteman, Hayward and Charles Wright completed the first 14 positions. I think we had 18 cars that made it to the checkered flag in the end, because it was then Leon Morel who got a bit further than he did in race 1 on his guest appearance. Then Naeem Hack, Stephen Dean and Alex Aloro were lost. John Murphy and Rich Miles, sadly, during the course of that race. And of course Ian Hutchinson didn't even manage to complete 1 lap before he went off into the gravel trap at Cascades. So if I just do some very quick maths, so that was a win for Yarrow, and he didn't get fastest lap, did he? So 30 points for him. Newman was 3rd, so he's going to pick up 25 points because he's got the fastest lap as well. Clues picked up 27. So yes, going into the final round, or final 2 rounds of the championship, it's going to be a 29-point lead for Ryan Yarrow over Clint Newman, but there's still the possibility that mathematically Newman or Clues could overturn Yarrow's advantage in that final meeting at Donington, Johnny.
So almost all permutations still possible.
Yeah, just about.
Should the results fall the way of those 3 drivers. But with the firm advantage, Yarrow, did you say 27 points?
Yes, it's his to lose, really.
Yeah.
But if he has problems, then Newman or Clues, if they have a strong weekend at Donington, they could pick up the pieces. So, yeah, watch out for that one. It's only 3 weeks away.
Well, from the perspective of Newman and Clues, you kind of go there and look to have a fun weekend.
Yes.
And if the first race goes your way, then the nerves can start to creep in. But at least you're not necessarily in Ryan Yarrow's perspective, because he may not be able to sleep at all that weekend for fear of throwing away a very good position.
Yeah, and looking for his 4th championship title. He's already had 3 successes in Sports 1000.
Well, that experience will pay dividends, though, of course, as well.
Absolutely. Newman in only his 2nd season. Clues has been racing a long time in F1000, switched to Sports 1000 more recently. He's got the experience there. He's got the pace there. Has had a win this season. But yeah, Yarrow with those 3 titles already, 5 wins now this season under his belt. He's going to be a very strong favourite, I think, going into that next meeting. We've still got 3 races to go this afternoon, haven't we? Yes, we have. We've got Formula V coming up next. We've got Clio's, and we've got the High-Tech Alfa Romeo Championship to conclude the weekend's entertainment. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the rain stays away. One thing that isn't going to stay away, though, is Kieran Mogg. He's down there in the pit lane.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm down here with Ryan. And Ryan, 2 for 2 today. It's been a fantastic day, and you're heading into the final round with a fair lead in the championship.
Yeah. I mean, it's still mathematically possible to throw it all away. So, yeah, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. But, yeah, I'm obviously pleased with how today's gone. I think I was lacking a bit of pace on Clint, kind of ultimate pace. The car just goes off massively towards the end. I'm sliding all over the place. And that seemed to be when he was coming on, so it was quite a lot of pressure, really. But all in all, yeah, pleased with
Are you confident ahead of that final round?
Yeah. I don't love Donington, but it's one of them where you get to this point where you think, you know what, I can afford to actually play it safe and sit behind people if I have to. So I've done that before. If I have to do that, then I will. So, yeah, reasonably.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. It's been you couldn't have asked for a better day, really.
No. I mean, it was about to get exciting because everyone was saying it was going to rain, and I thought, do I want that or not? It'd be fun, but I'm glad it didn't. So, yeah, good day.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much. And we'll speak to our Cup 200 winner. You had to really, really fight for that one.
Well, it's been a difficult day. Lost the engine in the first race, dropped a valve, managed to get a finish. Then I went straight out and done the all-comers race. Now I need to go and get in the all-comers race again. So make it quick.
I would just let you go then. well, just very quickly then, how have you found the track? How have you found the traffic? How have you found the day in general, other than the issue earlier?
Danger? What danger? No, it's all great. Love the track. It's fast. It's flowing. You know, what else can you say, really? Great car. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the class win then.
Yeah, not a bad recovery after this morning.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you go and run back into the other car then.
Cheers then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So head back up to Ian and Johnny coming up with the next race.